good.
Dan got the news. Alexander Den's redshirt. How is that going to kind of affect the defensive line? What's the plan for him the rest of the year?
Coach Riley's going to touch on some of the personnel stuff next time he talks to you guys.
How do you feel about just generally the depth on the defensive interior as it stands?
Feel good. You know, we have a good rotation of guys. We feel like that's one of the strengths of the team as far as just there's a handful of guys that you can go in there, they can play, they can operate, they know what to do. So we feel really good about the depth.
When did you learn about Bear Alexander redshirting?
Coach Riley is going to touch on all that stuff.
Coach, what sort of went wrong on the 3 long runs Michigan had when you evaluated the tape?
You know, in combination of things, starting with me, just from a schematic standpoint, putting them in a better position, from technique, fundamentals, making sure we're doing our job, and at the end of the day, you know, critical missed tackles.
And then on the flip side, I mean, in the second half, outside of a couple big runs, you guys were pretty much perfect. How tough is that to balance when you made a few mistakes, but you were so good outside of those mistakes?
Yeah, you just have to, you know, I told the guys it's easier said than done after a loss, but you have to do the same thing you do after a win. Like, there were a lot of good things in that game that we did. There were some things that we knew we needed to build on that we did. And then there's a lot of things that we need to improve on from a schematic standpoint, from a technique standpoint, from a fundamental communication standpoint. And we had to take all that, learn from it, and grow from it, and keep on taking the right direction as a defense, which I still believe that we are.
How have you seen them respond this week in practice?
They've responded well. You know, they took the coaching, they handled the adjustments, and we've had a good in 3 days.
How have you gotten the most out of Eric Gentry? He's had an awesome start to the year. What's been the key to unlocking him?
You know, Eric is a unique player. Like we talked about it before. Like, he can play so many spots. He can do so many things. He doesn't get tired. So he's kind of a fun piece to move around. And, you know, he's out there just having fun and making plays, and it's exciting to watch.
What have you found in kind of these few weeks coaching him about what gets the most out of him or how to get the most out of him? To get to that level?
You know, Eric is he's just very smart. He's a very smart football player. I think something that he's liked is having a lot of different roles. Like, he's not just doing one thing. There's times just seeing that Will. There's times just seeing that Sam. There's times in practice he's been at Mike. There's times where we'll actually run our nickel stuff and we'll keep him in the game. So I think just all the different roles and responsibility he has is exciting for him.
He's come off the edge, you know.
He has,
We've
yeah.
seen that. Where just at what point did you realize that, hey, like, he could be a weapon? You know?
Very early on, you know, probably after like the second practice, you know, he just does some stuff that you can't coach. And he makes us look a lot better as coaches.
Are there any guys that maybe haven't played a lot in the first 3 games that could be pushing towards the playing time?
Yeah, so Bryson Shaw, you know, I think you'll see him playing some more, and then also Zion Branch. So, you know, they've been great in practice. They've played some in games, but we're expecting them to have more of an increased role, and I'm super excited for both of them.
Kind of building on that about Eric Gentry, in terms of what you've learned about him, is there anything in the new roles that he's taken on that you've learned, like maybe you can even push further than you expected when you first started?
Yeah, we still haven't used them in all the ways that we have in practice, so there's still more for us to do with them. And then as the season goes on, as the package expands, as we self-scout ourselves, I'm sure there's going to be different ideas that keep on popping up each week.
Anyone like him that you've kind of been around as a coach in
No.
NFL?
No, you know, you could say, you know, Kyle Hamilton at times, because just the size and length, some of the stuff that they do in space. But, you know, Eric's a unique guy. I can't quite say I've coached a player quite like him.
What challenges does this class present on offense?
You know, they're a very versatile offense. For a spread offense, they run the ball well. They'll commit to it. They'll run the ball all game. They have RPOs attached to every single run. So you have to do a great job. Like, if you're playing the run, you have to play the run. If you're playing the pass, you have to make sure you're doing your job in the pass. And they do a really good job in the passing game, taking shots downfield.
Dan, what was it just in the fall that gave you so much confidence in having to name starters on the defensive line?
Just consistency and just seeing them do it every single day, and just, you know, how fast they picked everything up and how fast you saw them grow in the scheme.
Did you learn anything new about your team after watching the Michigan tape?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a tough group. You know, there were some things that we went through as a group that we hadn't been through, and you don't know how you're going to respond until you go through them. But it was our first time really giving up explosive plays like that. It was our first time having to make adjustments at halftime. It was our first time having to tweak the game plan some, and I feel like everyone kept their poise and handled it well.
How did you see Zion respond to the little procedure that he had a while back?
It's like he didn't have it. Like he was out 2 days afterwards. He had a little brace, and then he was fine.
Dan, in general, it seems like this defense has been pretty aggressive in terms of blitzes, third down, fourth down, just in those situations. For you, at what point did that aggressiveness kind of become a reality in your scheme and your philosophy? And what's your belief in your aggressiveness on those situations?
Each week to me is a completely different week. There's going to be some weeks where it's like, man, we blitz a lot. There's going to be some weeks where it looks like we blitz and we don't. There's going to be weeks where we just play in coverage. So each week's going to be a little bit different. It kind of just depends on, who are we playing, what do we need to defend, and how are they going to attack us.
Were you surprised by just how few times Michigan actually tried to pass the ball?
No, I didn't know what to expect. I knew that we had to be prepared for shots. We had to be prepared for trick plays. But I didn't know what to expect. I was prepared for absolutely anything in that game.
Thank you, Coach Lynn.
Thank you.